I'm Carrie, and this is Student Loan Chit-Chat. Happy 2023. It is the first Thursday of the new year, so I hope your new year is starting out beautiful. All right, let's get down to it. Let's talk about an interview that I saw. It was on the Dave Ramsey documentary. I'm going to actually link the documentary in the description box. And there were so many different things that came up in this documentary that I would actually like to address, but in the interest of time and all of that, I will probably address it in multiple videos. But one of the things I do want to address in this video was a young student who basically, she was being let's see, I guess it's basically sort of an interview situation set up, and one of the documentary people was basically saying, you know, how badly do you want this student loan? And she's like, I will do anything for the student loan. And he goes, well, even if it means you have to spend your whole life, I'm basically paraphrasing, but even if it means you have to spend your whole life working off this debt, you'll never pay this debt off. And she was basically saying, well, you have to take the good with the bad. All right. This was really striking to me because I think being 55 and having my $110,000 debt forgiven August 2022, I understand exactly where she's coming from as far as her saying, I will do anything for this opportunity to have this education, even if that means in the end I'm going to be paying on it for the rest of my life with no way to pay it off. So that's basically the context I want to take this video in. So let's stop and back up for a minute, okay? To her saying, I will do anything. Let's pause for a minute and let's imagine that you're on an airplane. If you've never been in an airplane, then let's imagine you're in a high-rise building somewhere. And if heights scare you, well, just pretend you're up somewhere high looking down on a city, okay? All right, so let's imagine you're in an airplane and it's nighttime and you're getting ready to, I don't know, let's just pick a city. I'm in Tampa, so let's just, we'll use Tampa as my example. I'm up in the airplane and I'm looking down on Tampa. I've never been to Tampa before, and all I can see is the skyscrapers. I can see lights in buildings and all of that, but I'm way up in the sky looking down on the city. The city looks absolutely beautiful, right? And I think many of us have had that. Hopefully you've had that opportunity to see what a city looks like at night from the sky view. It's absolutely beautiful, okay? It's dark outside and all I see are beautiful lights. I can see trails and things like that the city street lights make, the little cars are buzzing through on the freeway. It just looks absolutely gorgeous. In fact, we might even say that it's breathtaking, okay? It looks beautiful. Now then, the plane starts to lower. What starts to happen to that breathless, awesome sky view that we just had? What starts to happen as the plane starts to go lower and lower and lands in that city? Well, we start to see the flaws, okay? Now just bear with me here, all right? We start to see the flaws. We start to see that, oh my goodness, we might see pollution, we might see garbage on the ground, we might see homeless people, homeless encampments and tents, we might see that beaten down car, we might see the backflow of traffic, whatever. In other words, we've gone from a beautiful picturesque sky view up from the airplane looking over a place we've never been to before, all right? And it just looks beautiful, but as we get further and further into the trenches of it, all of a sudden it becomes less beautiful, all right? And we actually get to see the area for what it really is. I want you to keep in mind with student loans, especially young people, and this is probably really directed at young people, although it could be directed for somebody of any age, but especially young people as they've not had any experience yet, oftentimes with student loan debt, okay? So in this interview, in this Dave Ramsey documentary, she basically told the interviewer, one of his co-hosts as a matter of fact, she says, I will do anything for this degree. I don't care. You must take the good with the bad. And he's like, really? Even if you have to basically be, I'm paraphrasing, okay? Basically, you're going to be miserable the rest of your life paying it off. Yes, 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 I want it. All right. Do you see where the airplane analogy is coming in? And the reason I say she's willing to pay the price and she's willing to do anything it takes is because inexperience with student loans is like looking at a city and judging it from the sky view. You've never actually been to that city before. You've never actually taken a plane from the sky view and landed it so you can actually see what the surroundings are in real life. We don't live our life up on an airplane in the sky looking down on beautiful city lights at night, the darkness that hides everything. Okay, I know my teaching is really probably standing out here. You know, I'm a teacher. I use analogies for all sorts of things. Okay, so just bear with me. But really, we live our life down in the trenches. We live down in the city, not up in the sky. So I started thinking about it. And to her, if I had the opportunity to talk to her, to try to convince her to not go into heavy student debt that could keep you in debt for the rest of your life and where you're saying you're willing to accept it, here's something she's not seeing. She's still up in the airplane. She's looking down on the city at night. Why or how? Because she's very young. All she's ever known at this point in her life is mom and dad and grandma, maybe some aunts and uncles. All right, throw some of those in there too. Other people pay her bills. She's never actually had to pay the bills. And taking on student loan debt, well, somebody else is going to be paying that bill while she's in school. In other words, she's never actually had to get down into the trenches and really see what it's like to pay off a bill. It is very easy for young people to convince themselves, oh, I must take the good with the bad. Well, my question partly becomes, what's the roughest thing you've ever had to pay off so far? What's the biggest bill you've ever had to pay off? Do you know what your parents pay for electric? Do you know how many wattages they use on average per month? Do you know what water bill runs? Okay. In other words, none of these bills have ever been put in front of most young people. Now, again, I understand there may be exceptions to the rule, but we're going to talk about the basics and, the basic situation that most of us will find ourselves in. Most young people haven't had to do that. I know I certainly wasn't paying electric bill and water bills, at my parents' house when I was growing up. As a matter of fact, to me, the biggest issue with the water bill was please try not to take a shower. That's more than just a few minutes. Okay, that was pretty much it. That was my extent of understanding bills. It's easy, young people, and I am directing this directly at you, very young people, to say you will do anything for a degree when you are 20 years old and you've never had to pay a bill, a really significant bill. You've never been faced with do I eat or do I pay the rent? Do I pay the rent or do I take care of this medical procedure that needs to be done? You've never had to really do that. So it's very easy. And to people that are older like us, it may even be looked at as, that word entitled and all that. But I don't even think that's really the right word. I think it's highly inexperienced. Okay. Inexperienced can be a different meaning, in my opinion, than entitled. It's inexperience. So a young person can convince themselves very easily that, yes, I will do anything for this degree. I don't care if it gets me in debt for the rest of my life. I don't care if I will never be able to pay it off. I want this degree. But here's what I would tell you, young people. At some point, you're going to care. Because at some point, when that plane lands on the tarmac, and you get to see the city for what it really looks like during the daytime, the pollution, the smog, okay, garbage that might be lying around, all right, all of that wonderful stuff. You get to see the city for what it really, really is. You're going to start caring. And I can pretty much assure you that a few years after college that I will do anything to get this degree, you're going to start rethinking it. And you're probably going to start going, could there have been a different way? Don't believe me? There are literally thousands of YouTube videos of students, okay, that have gone to school that are now in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, paying off student loan debt when they thought life was going to be all great getting this degree. So here's what basically happens. As you get older, you start realizing the I will do anything for this degree works so long as everything in your life stays perfect, so long as you continue not to have bills that you are responsible for. A lot of young people don't think about that, right? So long as, somebody else is paying the bill, yes, you will do anything for that degree. So long as you're not the one actually, handing out the money, working for the paycheck. Now, you may say, oh, but I'm willing to work for it. I'm all good with that. Okay, like this young lady was. Okay, she's good with that now. You're good with that now when you're in your early 20s and everything's working perfectly. But what happens when you have a medical crisis coming up? I have arthritis. I had my student loan for 16 years. In the 16 years that I went from my student loan in 2006 to when it was forgiven just in August 2022, I have arthritis in both knees. I can no longer stand nonstop in a job. I need the ability to stand up and sit down at will. I deal with knee swelling. I take medication for it, okay? It's easy to say you will do anything, but you don't realize it's conditional. You don't realize it's conditional, but it is conditional. It's conditional and everything has to be just right. I couldn't take a part-time job at a retail store if I wanted to. Okay, I could not physically do it. I couldn't take a part-time job if I wanted to, being a waiter on my feet. Okay, it would be very, very difficult. It would actually exacerbate my medical condition. And I think one of the things that young people need to, and again, this is people of all ages, but I'm really gearing this to young people because of their lack of experience in the workforce. It is really, really hard to pay off bills. It takes a lot of work, a lot of hours to pay it off. And it's easy to say, I will do anything to go to this dream school of mine. I want to go to this dream school. I want to get this dream degree. I don't care if it could be done cheaper by going to a community college. I don't care if maybe I'm not quite ready for college yet, and perhaps I should wait a year, or maybe even I haven't really assessed my skills and talents. Maybe I should go into an apprenticeship. Maybe I should learn a trade. In other words, you are stuck on, yes, this is my dream school. I'm going to take out all the debt necessary, and I don't care because I'm all good. I'll pay it off later. But that later, you have to also consider that you're getting older. The energy, and I'm going to show my age here, okay? But the energy as you get older becomes more exhausting to pay off that bill. Okay, so when you're young and you're saying, I will do anything to pay off this bill, yeah, you probably can, okay? You have a lot of energy. You possibly are not married yet, so you don't have to deal with a spouse. You don't have possibly, again, kids yet, so you don't have to deal with that. Mom and dad have paid all the bills. The federal government kicked in with the student loan. You may not have ever even seen the student loan check. It probably just went straight to the school. So it's very easy to say you'll commit to anything when you haven't actually had to do anything yet to pay off that debt. And here's what winds up happening. After about 4 or 5 years, you've had this debt. You've now had the joy of working 2 jobs, which may or may not have anything to do with the field that you're in. But either way, you've had the joy of working a couple jobs and now you're tired. That's 5 years in. 10 years in, you're going to start possibly seriously regretting it. You'll always love that you majored. Hopefully you majored in something you enjoyed, but you're going to start realizing at the 10-year mark that this bill is old and you'd really like to get rid of it. And you found that the income-based payment that you were making that seemed so affordable really wasn't to your advantage, because you realized, just like a credit card bill, the bill doesn't go down, it only gets bigger. Okay, so you thought you were comfy making income-based payments, and you're sitting there going, well, when I was 20 years old, I said I would do anything to get this job, and I've made payments for 10 years straight, and all I get is a higher bill. Well, of course you're only going to get a higher bill because your income-based payments aren't enough to even dip into the interest, much less the principal. And then before you know it, 15 years has passes, and now you're not 20 anymore, you're 35 years old. And now you've just maybe lost a relationship or two because your student loan debt is too high to what other people feel comfortable taking on. Yes, this is a reality. Remember, we've landed the plane on the ground, okay? You've all of a sudden realized you had a child that may have special medical needs, or you yourself may have special medical needs, or your spouse may have special medical needs, or the person you love. All of a sudden, you start looking back at your 20-year-old self going, well, I said I would take this debt on at any cost. And that's the interesting part about this portion of the interview. He really said to her, you mean you're willing to die with it? Oh, yeah, I have to take the good with the bad. Yes, but it doesn't mean you have to take the good with the stupid. I mean that in a nice way, by the way. But seriously, let's think about it, okay? It's kind of like when people say things, what was it? When I paid off my condo, okay, I bought half of what I could afford, and I worked feverishly to pay it off, all right? I held on to my full-time job, plus I worked a little part-time job, and basically just poured money into it. And I was kind of blown away when people said, when I would go on to YouTube, and I always like to look at the opinions of other people because I think it's interesting to see what other people think about things. And so I looked up some videos on, don't pay off your mortgage. And there were some YouTubers, probably a lot actually, that said, oh, you're silly for paying off your mortgage early. Take that money and put it into savings. I'm not into savings, but put into investments instead, and you can get richer faster and blah, blah, okay? And I thought, that does work. Don't pay off your mortgage, keep it, and take that money and put into investments. But the issue that I had and continue to have, and probably always will have, is that works if the world turns perfectly, if the markets turn perfectly. In other words, so long as I can be guaranteed that nothing is going to crash, fail, no pandemic, no unexpected job layoffs, no closed businesses. In other words, as long as everything stays perfect, yes, it might be wise then, don't pay off your mortgage, invest the money, and you can come out ahead. But the problem is, much like when the plane lands from that beautiful sky view we had at night that was hiding the realities of the daytime, if things don't run perfectly, then guess what? Now you lose your residence, or you get very far behind on it and you get stressed trying to keep up on the bill. It's very much like that with student loans. It's easy to say, I will do anything. I don't care what it takes. I will work the rest of my life. I will toil away. Well, that's fine as long as you remain in your early 20s. You have all the energy in the world. Other people are paying the bills, and you've never actually had to get into the trenches to pay it. As long as you don't have any difficult decisions to make, as long as you're never in a relationship where somebody says to you, how much student loan debt do you have, and you're 20 years old and you've not built assets. It's different when people get older. For a lot of people, it is different when they get older and they have student loans, okay? They have assets. So, many people do have assets. Okay, not everybody's student loans is broke, okay? But many adults that may carry student loan have other assets that actually balance out that student loan debt, all right? But for young people in particular that have not built any assets, it's very easy to say you'll do anything. But then when reality starts to step in and life starts to step in, and guess what? There's going to come a time when that student loan is not going to be your priority. You are not going to want that student loan to be your priority. It's easy to make that student loan your priority when you're young, when you have nothing else interfering. But you know what? Let's take you at 22 versus 32 versus 42. Do you think your priorities are going to change? Do you think after 10 years of that student loan being on your checking account, do you really think you're going to say, oh, yes, I would like to take this loan all the way into my 50s and 60s? I kind of doubt it. And that's what you have to think about. And that's what you have to remember. The short-term answer is to say, I'll do anything to have this college degree, even if it means taking on a student loan debt that is going to hurt me in the future because I have to take the good with the bad. No, take the good with the smart. It doesn't have to have a bad side. And if it has a bad side to it, then right there's a problem. So this young gal saying that, I was thinking to myself, wait until she's 35. Let's say she's a mommy by then. Trust me, this student loan is going to be, a ball and chain on her. Wait until she's 40. And maybe she needs to make, or she would like to make a last minute career move. Maybe she'd like to make a final, just a physical move to another place to live. But she's got this student loan debt she's had since she was 20. Wait until this student loan debt is around when she's in her 50s. Yes, people, and this really does happen. There's a reason, like I've said in other videos, there's a reason they have 20 and 25-year student loan payments, because you can walk out with a student loan at 25 years old and finally have it forgiven sometime in your 40 and 50s if you're lucky. Oh, and then don't forget, if you're not in public service, that forgiveness becomes IRS debt. So now you can extend it some more as you make your payments to the IRS. But wait until she gets into her 50s, or you get into your 50s if you're in your 20s right now. And all of a sudden, what your priority is, sure as heck, is that the student loan debt you'd like to save for retirement. So in your 20s, young people, it's very easy to say you would do anything for your student loan, to go to that college, to be able to be a part of that team, that alma mater that you want so much. But as you age, every year that you're further and further out of school, I guarantee it to you, I would be pretty much willing to bank a paycheck on it. As you get older, that student loan debt ages with you. Your priorities are going to start changing, as they should. They should be shifting to other things, and this is the problem with student loans. Your student loan should not be the focus of your 40s and definitely not your 50s. Your student loans should be in your 20s, get it out, get it done, move on as much as possible. But with what's happening is students today are taking these loans out. There's no way they can pay it off in 5-10 years. Absolutely impossible for most of them. And, you know, anybody wants to disagree with that, well, I stand by it, because we have over $1 trillion in student loan debt. And it now, as most people know, it exceeds credit card debt. So somebody's taken out all these student loans and is unable to pay them back. So think about that the next time, you hear somebody say, oh my goodness, or maybe that's you, okay? And you're going, oh, I would do anything. I will put myself into poverty just so I can go to this school. Well, I can tell you one thing. The school isn't going to put themselves into poverty so you could attend it. Keep that in mind. All right, I'm Carrie. This is Student Loan Chit-Chat. Thank you so much for joining me. I do hope you will consider subscribing, and have a great day.